Okay, here we go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the February 17, 2022 meeting of the Santa Rosa Zoning Administrator, scheduled to begin at or after 10:30 p.m. or a.m. rather, and we're slightly after 10:30 a.m. So I appreciate your patience. Pursuant to Government Code Section 5495E, subsection E, and the recommendation of the health officer of the County of Sonoma, the zoning administrator will be participating in this meeting via Zoom webinar. Members of the public can participate virtually at zoom.us/join or by calling toll-free 877-853-5257. The meeting ID is 890-2871-9260. This meeting will also be streamed live at youtube.com/City of Santa Rosa. Today's meeting is a regular session meeting. The zoning administrator typically holds 2 meetings per month on the first and third Thursdays of the month. This is the second regular session meeting of the zoning administrator in February. Our next regular session meeting is scheduled for March 3rd, 2022. Members of the public accessing the meeting through Zoom can provide comments during the public comment periods. Additional information related to meeting participation is available online at srcity.org/zoning admin. So at this point in today's agenda, we do provide the opportunity for general public comments about items that are not listed on today's agenda. And so I would like to go ahead and open the public comment period for general comments about those items that are not listed on today's agenda. Eileen, could you please provide us with the public attendance status?
We have no raised hands at this time. The one email comment was attached to the agenda for public review.
Great, thank you. We'll give just a moment yet in case we have some late attendees. Okay, and if we have no raised hands, then I'll go ahead and close this general public comment period and move on to zoning administrator business. The zoning administrator, yes.
I apologize, we do have a raised hand.
Okay.
It is Sean Padina. I believe he is representing the applicant. Would you like me to go ahead and promote him, or?
Yeah, let's go ahead and open it. But if it is the applicant, then if it is a public comment unrelated to today's meeting item, then he would be able to offer that comment.
Absolutely. Just one moment while I pull up the public comment screen. And Mr. Padina, if you would please confirm your ability to see the, I'm going to go ahead and share the timer. If you'd like to introduce yourself and confirm that you can see the screen, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
So yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all I'm seeing on my screen is Andrew, and then the other half of the screen is the City of Santa Rosa Art and Public Places Committee.
I apologize.
Thank you, Sean.
I don't. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm not on the screen. I can't see myself. I know that Mary Edwards, the owner of the property, is also present, and also Rick from Kenwood Fence is also present during this to answer any questions and to make comments on everybody's behalf.
Okay, thanks, Sean. So during today's meeting, the only people that will be on screen will be the project planner, Monet Shikali, when she's presenting, and myself. Okay. So during zoning administrator virtual public meetings, we do not show the applicants or members of the public on the screen. So you can plan to be heard, as well as the property owner can be heard, but we would not be showing video.
Okay.
All right.
That answers my questions, because for screen sharing and all that makes complete sense.
Sure. Great. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. Which I think we need to complete zoning administrator business. And okay, so meeting item number 3, agenda item 3 is zoning administrator business. And the zoning administrator is appointed by the Planning and Economic Development Director and has the responsibility and authority to conduct public hearings and to take action on applications for all administrative permits and approvals issued by the department. A determination or decision by the zoning administrator may be applied to the may be appealed to the Design Review Board, Cultural Heritage Board, Planning Commission, or City Council as applicable to the decision. There are no zoning administrator reports today. And so we will move on to meeting item number 4, scheduled items. We have one meeting item today. For this item, I will ask the project planner for a staff presentation and an applicant presentation or comments. Following these presentations, I may ask clarifying questions of the project planner or applicant. I will then open the meeting for public comment about the item under review. Members of the public are invited to provide comment about the project being reviewed. These comments should be limited to 3 minutes. After the public comment opportunity is completed, I may ask additional questions of staff or applicant as part of my review. I will then issue a decision to approve, deny, or continue the project for further review. Again, decisions of the zoning administrator are appealable to the Planning Commission, Design Review Board, Cultural Heritage Board, or City Council as applicable. Pursuant to Zoning Code Section 20-62.030, appeals shall be submitted in writing and filed with the Planning Department on a city application form within 10 calendar days after the date of the decision, which for today's meeting is the close of business on February 28th. All right, we would then move on to meeting item 4.1. This is a public meeting to provide minor design review for a proposed security fencing gate for the project located at 3440 Airway Drive. A CEQA exemption is recommended for this project, and the file number is DR21-045. The project planner is Monet Shikali, and so we will turn to Ms. Shikali and ask her for her staff presentation.
Can I excuse for a second, please?
Yeah.
I have Rick from Kenwood Fence is waiting for acceptance into the meeting. He had just texted me from the host.
Great, thanks, Sean.
Okay.
So he probably needs to enter the meeting ID because he's not in the attendee queue. The meeting ID is 890-2871-6920.
Correct. And let me text him right now.
So I will start sharing my screen and the presentation till
Right.
Sean talks. So, okay, thank you. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay, Mr. Zoning Administrator, you already introduced the project, so I will start with the second slide. So the applicant is proposing to install an 8-foot black chain link fence with gates for security reasons. The picture below shows just portion of the building and existing site with existing trees. So the site is zoned light industrial, consistent with the general plan land use, which is light industry. And this site, I'm sorry, this site is located in a industrial area. As you can see, lots of parcels in that area are zoned for light industrial with some commercial in the back of the project site. Here is a closer aerial view from the project site. As you can see, there are 2 entrances or exits for the site with parkings in the back and on both sides of the property. The site is being used for cannabis land uses, and the applicant wants to add fence to secure the site. They have experienced some theft and issues with this site. The reason they are adding security is to provide safety and security for the employees and for the visitors. So here is a site plan that the applicant has provided. The yellow lines are where the fence will be placed all around the building, and no trees will be removed as a result of this fence. The applicant is making sure to preserve and keep the trees on the site. Two gates for driveways will be proposed, and one pedestrian gate will be placed in the back of the building where the parking lot is located. And the applicant is proposing to add plants and shrubs in front of the building to screen the fence along the airway drive. However, the majority of the fence will not be visible from the street because it will be on the side and rear of the building. On the north side, the applicant will try to add some bollards to protect the fence from cars backing up. I have another picture. I will show how it will look like. But first, I'm going to just show you the example of how the gate, the pedestrian gate, and the fence would look like, which is an 8-foot fence. Here is a driveway gate, double chain link fence and gate. And here is where the fence on the north side will be located. As you can see, the property line is right next to the curb, the yellow line, and the cars on the north side, they when they back up, they can hit the fence. So the applicant is placing a 3-foot bollards to protect the fence. And the reason that they have the pointed arrow style bollard is to not let anyone get on top of that bollards and pass the fence. So they're trying to protect the fence. And as I mentioned, the applicant is doing their best to not remove any trees and preserve the trees on site. I have received about public comments. The property owner on the north side sent us an email, and they mentioned they have concerns about location of the fence and the location of the bollards. They asked to move the fence a little bit further and bollards also further to protect the tree roots from being damaged. And also they have concern about the new bollards would damage their curbs. I have talked to the applicant, and applicant can mention how this bollard will be placed there and will prevent the damage for the existing tree roots and also the curb. And for CEQA, the proposed project has been reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act and qualifies for a Class 3 exemption under Section 15303, in that the fence is construction of an accessory structure. And with that, the Planning and Economic Development Department recommends that the zoning administrator, by resolution, approve a minor design review permit for the property located at 3440 Airway Drive. And my information is here. The applicant team is also available to answer questions if there are any. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Kali. Mr. Codina, it looks like we still have not had the other member of your applicant team join. Do you want to give a few minutes for the other person to join as well? Or would you like to go ahead and provide comment?
No, I could provide some comments. He just texted me he said for some reason it's still not letting him in. He does have the flyer and he's tried. So I've just told him to keep trying. I told him.
Sure.
So, I did review the site again this morning. He has reviewed the site again this morning. The concern from the letter from Mr. Moynihan, the representative of the property of the north, on the north, he had some comments here and mentioning it was hit on his property line. If you notice, we are setting everything back from our property line. Even the concrete for the bollards will not be encroaching into his property line. It will not be undermining any curb, which was another one of his comments. When redwoods grow, the roots grow down, they don't grow out. So when we encounter a root, what we do is we have the option of putting the posts, either 7 feet apart or 10 feet apart. So we have some variance on, roughly around 3 feet. So we can move and slide those posts as we need. Looking at the site this morning, there is no bollards that will be placed directly in front of a tree. There will be some that are slightly offset. So that is not an issue whatsoever to affect the trees. Obviously, the owner of the property, these are beautiful redwoods. We do not want to affect these trees. We want to preserve the trees. So if we do run into a root, it would go to hand digging. We would protect that root and work around it. That's our main goal is to protect this fence and also to protect the facility because of the break-ins and the employees in the facility. They're scared, because they've had a couple, serious situations where people have tried to break into this facility. So the owner is trying to protect her clients with this no climb 8-foot fence and make sure that this very expensive fence is maintained by protecting it with the bollards. The vehicles that are backing up over that line. So when I was out on the site this morning, obviously you have your parking stripes. So if they were to actually, in that picture that Monet's got up right now, if they were to stop the back of their bumper at the curb, so actually a good example. So if let's say they go all the way to the curb. So they're 3 feet into the owner's property on the south, Mary Edwards property. If they pulled forward 3 feet and parked actually the way they should park, they're still within those stripes. They're not past the stripes, which gives us ample room. And it is a commercial lot, gives them ample room to turn around, reverse, and get out of their spot. So if they're parking properly, they're staying within that parking spot parameter. The bollards are for protection for them to notice so that they do not hit the bollard or hit the fence, because any kind of damage to the fence is obviously going to be a very expensive repair. This is a 1-inch poly-coated no climb fence. So it's very expensive. It's a very expensive investment by the owner, and she just wants to protect it. So this was the best concept that we came up with to protect her property, the trees, and keep a safe haven for her employees or her clients that rent the facility out.
Great. Well, thanks so much for those comments, Mr. Codina. I do have a couple of questions. The first question is, I want to confirm that you would generally seek to locate the bollards midpoint between the parking space, within the parking space. So in other words, I understand it would be located on the applicant's property, the bollard would. We have likely a 9-foot wide parking space. So you're seeking to locate midpoint on that parking space, but you may move off of midpoint in the event that you were to encounter a root. Is that correct?
Correct. We would make adjustments as needed. Now, doing a site visit today, it doesn't look like we would have to make really any major adjustments. That everything actually would look pretty uniform out there.
Sure. Thank you for that clarification. And then the second, you've mentioned that it's a no climb fence. Can you describe how does a no climb fence, chain link fence, compare to, say, the standard chain link fence, galvanized fence that we're used to seeing?
So a regular galvanized is roughly 2.5 to 3 inches, where you can get a foothold. This 1 inch, once it's poly coated, it actually probably turns into about 3/4 of an inch of a gap. So if you try to get a foothold, your foot's just going to slide. It'll just slide down. And so putting the bollards on that, and just on the north end, with the pointed tops, and the pointed tops are going to be shaved at the top. They're not going to be, they're not going to be sharp like a knife or anything like that. Would prevent them from getting a good foothold to reach the top of the 8-foot fence to climb over.
Right. Because presumably otherwise, if you didn't have the pointed top on the bollard, then somebody could stand on the bollard and gain 3 feet to be able to then climb over the top of the fence. Is that correct?
That is correct. So this is more of a preventative measure.
Sure. Okay, great. I'm glad you pointed that out, because the point is a bit off-putting, but it's good to understand the rationale behind using that approach for a top of the bollard. And then tell me about the durability of the poly coating. So I do appreciate that the design is not a typical chain link design, and the material used is not your typical galvanized chain link material. So tell me a bit about durability of the poly coating and such.
Well, I know it comes with I think it comes with a 10-year warranty. So it's a polyurethane coating. It's very, very durable. And this fence is going to be it makes, when you get to the smaller spaces, it makes the fence a lot tighter and a lot stronger than more of like, if you've obviously grown up around our standard fences, and you can kind of push them in and out, and you can put your hands through them and get footholds and whatnot. This is more of it's more of a strength, and it's going to have just tinier holes. So for longevity, we wanted to do the poly coating in everything, the poles and any kind of cross bracing, all of that will be powder coated. Even the bollards will be powder coated to match the fence. The caps that are going on there will be painted to match also. We want this to look as aesthetically pleasing as possible. We didn't want to make it, we didn't want this to be an eyesore, but you're definitely not going to see a lot of this from the street. And then the owner is also, if you go back to Monet, the overhead picture, she is in the middle of planning with her landscaper right now, the landscape design for the whole property. And it doesn't just include the front, it includes that back. If you see the back, the rear back there, that's all going to be just beautiful and luscious when it's done. So she wants to spend a lot of money and make a lot of improvements on this property, and make it very safe in the same sense for her clients.
Okay, great. Thank you for those comments. And then one last question: a pedestrian locking gate at the rear. I appreciate that, because oftentimes, to have that sort of access can help, especially if people are moving, between spaces and between properties. So presumably staff would have access to lock and unlock that gate, or would that generally remain locked?
No, that would generally remain locked. It would be a code key.
Okay.
So it would be either a code or a code key, like a key fob.
Sure.
And they would be self-closing, obviously. Then I've also worked with the fire department. So I did do all my research with them before I did my applications with them. So that rear area, as you see, that is their designated turnaround area. That overhead picture, as you see, those parking spots are generally just wide open, just like that is. And so there is days when there's cars parked there, and a lot of those cars, what I've noticed while spending time on the site, to the right of that picture is the rear of the 24-hour fitness. And a lot of those customers are parking right there. So that's going to prevent that from happening also. We've had a lot of issues of dumping, a lot of issues of the homeless, just leaving trash. So it's really just going to kind of protect the facility. She wants to make it look beautiful and keep it maintained. And it's all about beautification but also safety in the same sense, and to get her clients, so that her clients don't feel threatened in any manner.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Codina. I appreciate your additional comments and input. Ms. Shikali, were you able to confirm the depth of the parking spaces on the adjacent property?
I used our GIS, and it seems they are 17 feet. So probably they had 2 feet overhang on the adjacent property, passing the property line. And I'm looking at the picture, it seems that's the 2 feet where they overhang.
Okay, a standard parking space depth would be
19, correct.
And we oftentimes have a 3 to 5 foot projection differential in GIS. So,
yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for taking that additional step. At this point in time, I don't have any additional questions for staff or for the applicant. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen to open public comment for this meeting. If anyone wishes to make a comment, please raise your hand. If you are phoning in and would like to make a comment, please press *9 to raise your hand, and we will unmute you in order to provide public comment.
Mr. Cadena has raised his hand. I will go ahead and share the screen.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I don't think I did, but we do have the fire permits. They have been approved. I just wanted to mention that.
Great. Thank you so much.
There are no additional hands raised at this time.
Wonderful. I was just getting ready to ask you. Okay, well, let's go ahead then and we will close public comment and bring that back to me for my review. And I do want to pull up the resolution so that I'm aware of that. So considering before me is a resolution of the zoning administrator of the city of Santa Rosa approving minor design review for installation of an 8-foot chain link fence with gates along the boundary of the entire site for the property located at 3440 Airway Drive, Santa Rosa, APN 148-060-018, file number DR21-045. This is minor design review, so as such, we are primarily interested in the design characteristics of the project. I recognize the need, both property owners and the tenants' needs for safety and security. That is very important. And I do appreciate the efforts that's been made by the applicant team with the support of the property owner to create a design that is both provides for safety and security, but also is visually appealing. I do think that the poly-coated chain link fences with these smaller openings are a vast improvement over what we typically see in our industrial spaces, which are the standard galvanized fences. So thank you for making that effort to ensure that not only are you solving for the issues that you're facing, but you're also doing so in a visually appealing manner. As well as Ms. Edwards, I want to thank you for your continuing investment in the property, not just in terms of installing the fencing to support your tenants, but also for the other landscaping improvements that you will be making as part of this project. We greatly appreciate your continuing investment in our community. I do recognize the concerns about potential damage to the existing trees located on site. And I appreciate the comments that the applicant has provided, the care and effort that they are taking to make sure that the trees are not damaged during installation of the fence or the bollards, as well as their recognition of the value of the trees as an important aspect of the site and the need to preserve them for not just for a site, but also for our community. So I am able to make all of the findings needed to approve minor design review for this project, including the finding that the project qualifies for a Class 3 exemption under Section 15303, subsection E, and that of the CEQA guidelines, and that the fence is construction of an accessory structure. Please be aware that you are required to comply with the conditions of approval that are included in this resolution. And so with that, I will be approving minor design review for the fence with gates on the 17th day of February 2022. And I do remind both the applicant and members of the public that this approval is subject to appeal within 10 calendar days from the date of approval. And so that then concludes meeting item 4.1. And so there being no other business before the zoning administrator, I will adjourn this meeting until the next regularly scheduled meeting of the zoning administrator on March 3rd, 2022. Thank you for your participation today.